I want to update you on a few. Hello, welcome, welcome. I want to update you on a few changes to our schedule, what with the Roots Tech and all. First of all, I am going to skip next Sunday's live session. I later this afternoon, my time, California, will be updating whatever it is it says on the projectkin.org/events calendar. But I'm going to skip next Sunday because I want to have as my guest Robin Stewart, my co-conspirator in Mission Genealogy. And starting on Saturday, March 1st, we're going to do our first of our Substack live sessions for the Roots Tech series because you see she's traveling on Sunday, as are many people who are actually heading on site. So I will then pick up. She will be traveling Sunday, and then starting Monday through Friday that week, we will be broadcasting every day with something happening. And I am working out the schedule. I have a list of about 20 people now who have told me they're interested and signing up, including you, Kathy. Thank you very much.
Yep, I'll be there.
Go to projectkin.org/rootstech. I've got 2 articles in there talking about exactly what we're doing. And in the second article, and you can see the dates, in the second article, you'll find a form. And in that form, you fill it in. And the deadline was yesterday, but I'll take more today since I'm talking to you today. And I'm thrilled that I have 20 already. But I will be basically asking for information of how do I reach you? You want to be in on this? I'll be keeping everybody updated about what the schedule is. And the goal is to have one live broadcast for the first 3 days leading up to the show because there's activities on site, people going to the library, stuff like that from Salt Lake. And then 2 shows, if it works, it maybe not. We'll find out. Not more than 1 email per day, but if it works on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday of the actual show days. I'm going to be talking to the 20 people who've already signed up to see who wants to come, who can come, what can they do, or do they want to be my guest? My guests will not only be people who are actually on the show floor, and I have 3 people who have committed and will be on site. But like I said, I've got a total of 20. So there will be many of you who will not actually be on site, but we can do live sessions anyway and talk about the people who are on site. We can talk about what we've seen. As many of you know, I had a software company. It is part of that. As a software vendor, I am now as a recovering software vendor, I am very sensitive to the challenges of where that goes. Which reminds me, Kathy, photo organizing. It's been a very big couple of weeks for all of that. Welcome, welcome. We have a major event this week with Kathy's Corner on Thursday, and then there was also major news with Memory Web announcing that they're going offline, and a lot of drama about what to do if how to recover your files that you have on Memory Web, and how to be sure not to lose the precious metadata that you went to Memory Web for in the first place.
Mhm.
So let me calm down,
Take a breath.
take a breath, and turn it over to you to tell us a little bit about first what's coming on Thursday.
Well, coming on Thursday, we're going to continue with our digging into how do we figure out the who and the what and the where and the when of those photos that are left over at the end that we're not sure what they're who the people are. And I've always cautioned people, don't immediately go, I don't know who that is, and toss the picture, because you never know. It could be somebody that you find out afterwards, in fact, is someone that is related to you or was closely related to, or was someone else important in the lives of your ancestors. So that's what we're going to be talking about, is how we can go about finding information from the photos themselves. So that's coming up. And I was thinking about the Memory Web situation all week, and I was like, that somebody told me a long time ago that many copies keep stuff safe. And I think that's the warning, the learning point here. from this with memory web is that don't keep everything in one place. And also, I think we did a Kathy's Corner, I think, on tips on how to evaluate your photo organizing software or your storage quite some time ago. And I think the key is you've got to check things out when you start. It may look good, but and you're getting so excited about finding somewhere to put your things, it's always a good idea to have a look and see, okay, if I have to take them out of there, what's coming out for me? What is it easy? Because there's some places you can get your stuff back, but it's not easy. Is anything I add to it? This is, I think, a stumbling block in many places, is that if you work in that software and you add something, it doesn't get added to the original metadata. And so you're doing a bunch of work in a program, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's all gone now. So it's back to that checking out, testing things, try it out. I think some people, I know you do, Barbara, have a sort of a little set of photos that you try out new stuff on so you could compare, as opposed to starting with something different. But take a little subset of photos that you know what look like in on your desktop or wherever your core copy is. But again, I go back to many copies keep stuff safe. Don't have it just as we say, don't keep it just on your computer. Don't have it just in one place online, because we're taking a leap of faith with any online program for our photos that program will be there forever. And we know that's not the case. So
Yeah.
software comes and goes, and there's nothing wrong with using online programs. I know some people who don't use it at all and just use drives, but drives, you've got to keep backing up things. And there's we've talked before about the security of that with, theft, fire, flood, all those things where those can be lost, but never have anything even in one place. I saw someone who's got everything is all in one place online, and they've got rid of all their hard copy backups. And I'm just like, not a good idea. Keep everything. You should have at least 3 copies of everything. And it does mean you've got to have a little bit of a plan to sort, how do you update them? Because obviously you're not going to work in all 3 at the same time. You need to be updating, but never have anything just in one place. And again,
Yeah.
I think there's quite a bit of things. I think Maureen Taylor put something out on how to get your stuff back out of memory web if that's the only place you have it, or if you've done a lot of work in there and now you
Yeah.
don't you need that work done. But I think that's sort of the tip of the day. Looking forward to seeing everyone on Thursday and talking more about identifying photos and how we can get clues from the pictures themselves, and talking about the actual photo, not what's in it yet. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you remind me of the classic uh eggs and baskets. It's don't keep all
yeah,
your eggs in one
yeah,
basket, but at the same time, remember where you're putting things. And I think one of the photo organizer lessons that has resonated the most for me is that of workflow. And quite frankly, as I've said before, this is what businesses do. If you think about a
yeah,
software company that is doing development, they can't just say, oops, I did all that work, but I don't know where it is.
yeah,
That's just
exactly.
conceptually, that's just not an answer. So, and I got to tell you, back in the day, the floppy disks, that kind of thing
That would
happened.
happen. Yeah.
um, I'm old enough, I remember. And
I might have some.
yeah, oh, I have the floppy disks. No, I meant in
Yeah.
development, it
Yeah.
happened that you can't do that thing again because it's just gone. What
Yeah.
software do you recommend for storing photos? Okay, that's a big question and topic.
Huge
Gosh,
question. Yes.
Kathy, do you want to give that a stab?
Do you want me to not be generic for a minute?
What actually would be helpful is if you break down the problem into the generic components, because storing photos is even that alone is a deceptively complicated
Yeah,
question, right?
true.
So break it down generically first, and then I don't you're perfectly fine to mention favorites. We all have favorites. It's perfectly
Yeah.
fine.
So I think for me, what's important is, first of all, the metadata. If I'm adding information, and by metadata now, I think that term has been maybe overused now, but if I'm adding my stories and my descriptions and my dates to my files, I want to make sure that that is sticking, so to speak. Whatever I'm using as a program, that would be one thing. If I'm using something online, I want to make sure that there is, I've forgotten the word now, it was so that my family can access it after. So that legacy, that's it, that there's some kind of legacy provisions so that if I pass away, they aren't locked out of all the family photos and the heritage photos, which is a problem with some apps that are also either people need your passwords or you need a software that has, or a program rather, or a site that will let you do that. Um, Again, as I said, like I'm not opposed to external hard drives. They're not that expensive now, and solid state drives. So always have another copy somewhere. And where you choose to work is probably more a case of preference. Do you want to just work on do you want to work on your hard drive, on your computer? Do you want to work online? If you can only work on a program online, it begs the question, what if I can't get online and I want to do some work? So sometimes having something that resides on your own computer is handier for working on. Um, I'm still kind of tied up in, I'm trying to lose this because it's sort of an older way, but I'm still tied up with keeping all my files. I'm a PC user, keeping my files in Windows by date or by topic, or by, I like date the best because that's because a computer sorts by numerically. So if I need to be consistent with my dates, but I've got all my family photos still on hard drives that are backed up, and I have a backup service. I use a service that automatically backs up everything so I don't have to remember to do it. And so
Mhm.
I think that's, and always, if you're using something new, almost all of them have a free trial. Check out the free trial and see what, if this suits your needs
Mhm.
and the different features. And so, and as you know, Barbara, I'm a fan of Forever. And that's where I decided a long time ago when it first came out, it's like 12 years ago now, that that was a brilliant idea to have somewhere safe and secure that wasn't tied up in other things like
Mhm.
and I use Amazon, all those things, Google that had a focus on privacy and it's changed a lot because back then it was like a upload a backup to it and there wasn't a whole lot you could do, but it's changed a lot. So I continue to work on that. But my photos aren't just there. They're also on my computer where they can be backed up somewhere else.
Mhm.
And every
Mhm.
so often I need to download the work I've done and because it's facial recognition now, I need to download that work and back it up somewhere where I have
Yeah.
a hard copy. And I think
Yeah.
again, more copies you have, the better.
As long as, and this is where I think the idea of a workflow is so
Yeah.
important, because
Yes.
if as part of the workflow you are naturally creating that backup supply, that backup pathway, but it also forces you as part of your daily practice to understand where those backups are. And I bring that up in the context of projects, because so often a family history project is going to involve lots of different media types that you're pulling together to tell a
Hmm.
story. It
Yeah.
could just be a Word document with pictures in it, but you have now changed a standard format of
Yes.
text. It's not a standard text file anymore. It is now
No.
a unique file format called Word, for example, or
Yeah.
something else. Ashton Tate's, what was that thing called? Word Perfect. So file formats create, proprietary file formats create, their own access problems. And when you start and work on something, you have a work in progress and you have backups to that work in progress.
Yeah.
When you finish that thing, you may have a deliverable that you send to people, you have it in email, you have it in whatever form. Then make an archival copy. And this is something that I think is really different between just fooling around and having a good time with your computer to do fun things, and doing something for family history. Because
Yeah.
you're doing something for family history, um, the legacy to the project is important.
Yeah.
Because, wow, my grandmother did this really cool timeline thing and it's so cool, but I can't do anything with it because I don't have any of the in business terms, we call these the artifacts, the digital artifacts, the
Mhm.
digital, elements that that you use to put it all together. And quite frankly, for a big and complicated project, it's very hard to do that. But you know our phrase, say it together with me. Don't let the perfect be the
Perfect be
enemy
the
of the
enemy of the
good.
good.
It's
Yes.
okay to make mistakes. You learn
Yeah,
from the mistakes. And it's much better to have charged in there and made some mistakes because you did something and then you learned from that thing that you
yeah,
did.
yeah,
Um, yeah, exactly. I see these comments flying by. It's hard to keep up here. And also my camera is my phone.
yes.
But it's
And they're
I
tiny
see
on here. I'm like,
yeah, well, then there's that reading problem.
"Oh,
I see that many of you were talking about things like thumb drives. Thumb drives are kind of like the diskettes of the the modern era, right? But
yeah,
I just, these are like giveaways from trade shows and things. I keep a little stash right here next to my desk. Um, and just to have all of those kinds of things handy.
well,
The Yeah,
and I like to have my backup of my family photos. Like, and I've got the pile of drives on my desk too for moving, when I got to move something from one place to another or copy something quickly. But I like my hard drive backup to be on a large external hard drive because it's harder to lose. And I know of clients that have requested thumb drives for their family photos. And then about 3 years later, they go, is there any way you could give me those photos? These are ones that have been organized and digitized because I've lost the thumb drives. And it's sort of
yeah,
like, so it's again, but if you have more, and they never backed them up anywhere. Cause I always say, okay, here's your photos, but make sure you back these up more places. So, and it's a constant, as you say, you need a workflow and need to follow that. We actually might be able to talk about that in Kathy's Corner at some time. Probably, maybe not this week, or we could switch, talk about that this week. Who knows? But on
no, I
establishing
think
a
that,
good
yeah, because
workflow.
hey, the work floor is important.
Yes, exactly.
You
But I
don't want
think
to fall
that's
through it.
what's important. And many copies
Many
is
copies.
always, and even coming from a photo manager who doesn't like to have have duplicates of everything, there's a difference between when your computer crashes and you get a disk and everything else and a whole bunch of copies of stuff. Oh, and this might be there between having workflow designated copies in more than one place,
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Like, we're not talking
yeah,
about, oh, let's just throw another drive in and back it up there again until I get so many copies I don't know where my working one is. But
yeah.
let's keep, and I always say, if you've digitized anything, keep the originals and work on a working copy. And
Right,
I always keep originals. And then once I'm done messing around in working copies, I have a file labeled originals. So I know that there's probably no metadata in there. There's probably not a whole lot of information. The pictures might still be not rotated in my original scans, but I've got the scan
right,
because if I don't have the originals anymore.
right, right. Linda Hines just asked, what time is it on Thursday? This would be when is Kathy's Corner? And Kathy's Corner is at 3 p.m. Pacific, or as we like to say, this is Pacific time in Mountain Time, where Kathy is in Calgary. So it's 3 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. in Mountain Time,
Yeah,
which is 5 p.m. Central or 6 p.m. in
Eastern.
Eastern. And let me see, it's an hour earlier than whenever our usual Pacific time events are for Europe and the Pacific Rim. Because my head explodes. That's my secret to managing these times. I do have them all at projectkin.org/events, where all the events are. All of Kathy's Corner. You do know that everybody can see the past episodes of Kathy's Corner
Mhm.
at surprise Kathy's Corner, projectkin.org/Kathy's Corner. By the way, you know how I do that? I always have these little short codes for things. I do that in Canva. I try to be very platform independent, and I think I am. I like to know how it is that I did that. It's actually a standards-based tool. It's called a redirect on the web. It just that from within Canva, and I already have a paid account, but this would also be true if I had registered a domain through them on a free account, I think. But they do a really nice job of making it very, very easy to slap in a redirect.
Yeah.
So I use them out the yin yang, and it.
Mhm.
I project them for all of you because I
And
use them
and
to keep my
again,
own head straight.
the tool that works. That to me is another criteria for me is somebody might like another program better, or recommend it, or sing its praises, but it's got to work for you and it's got to
Yeah,
fit into how you want your workflow to go. And like
yeah,
that's why I said, like Canva's a great tool. I had somebody, yeah, a relative send me a note says I got to make a slideshow for a presentation this week. And he said, "What software do I need to buy?" And I said, "Hey, don't buy anything." I said, "Look at Canva, and I'm pretty sure you can do whatever it is you're making your presentation on and do a good presentation with your photos and not
at
pay
the
for
free
it."
level. Yeah, yeah.
Because
Well,
Barbara and I are both very fond of free stuff too.
very fun. One thing I will criticize Canva for, and I'd say it's a great example of being careful about your workflow, is that they almost encourage being sloppy with your originals because they don't give you any limitations on how much you can upload on a paid account. They don't, I upload now routinely 1.5 gig and more in video at a time, and there's no limit on it. So I have all, I mean, I'll say, where is that in my, what was the name of the file? If I want to see if I've already uploaded that to Canva, I don't know. Let me just take it up again. And it means I'm actually very
But it,
sloppy, which
yes,
is
not
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 good.
good.
Not
Yes,
good. But does it matter? I'm not sure it matters. If
yeah,
it doesn't I would argue it doesn't matter if I'm always keeping backups. I had an
yeah,
original archive. I know where my originals are, the mint version, the golden master.
yeah.
And then I bring that, I do work in progress. That's backed up in the process. And then I output to a final. Now, what did I do with the digital artifacts it took to make that? That's where I get in trouble. And I try to be good about that, but I know I am not. So we try. Speaking of which, just to wrap this up, because I do like to keep these short and tight,
Yep.
um, Kathy's Corner and our very own Kathy Stone with us now. Kathy's Corner is on Thursday. That's 3 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Mountain, 5, and then 6 Eastern. And I'm sorry, my head will swim and
And
I won't get it right, but I think it's 6 p.m. in, no, that can't be right.
no,
Uh,
check
yeah,
on the web. Check on
check on the web.
Substack. Yeah.
And then actually at projectkin.org events. Um, the following week, there's a bunch of changes. Usually I have a Sunday program and then maybe a Tuesday and a Thursday. Next week, I do not. I am shortly will be updating the calendar to take away to skipping Sunday because I'm doing Saturday the 1st and it'll be at a special time. That'll be at 1:30. So for all of our Roots Tech events, everything's going to be on the half hour, not on the hour. So the people on site can get to the programs
Mhm.
and that sort of thing. So I'm not going to bother. Don't bother writing it all down because you're going to go to it'll be in the calendar. And I'm just telling you, there's a whole lot of changes coming for that special week. And basically, I'm not going to have any regularly scheduled events. It's a Rootsapalooza.
Roots. Yes.
Rootsapalooza. So it's a thrill as always, and welcome so many new subscribers. We're seeing a lot of excitement in the family history space. As
Hmm.
I share with many new people joining Substack, like Dear Mert, we had last week. Many of you
Hmm.
have talked to and seen Maureen Taylor on the subject of memory web and a lot of this metadata questions. She, by the way, has a webinar in the middle of, I think, on the 27th. It might be a Thursday or Tuesday, something like that, coming up next week, talking about this kind of thing. There's a lot of new well-known people in the family history space who are coming in, all of whom are delighted to have all of you join in. The way I see it, this is the early days. These are the early days because I think sooner or later, the good overlords at Substack are going to turn on that home where you see the tabs across the top, the home categories in your reading queue. There will be one for genealogy in due time. And that's when
Perfect.
all the new kids are gonna come in, and we're
Yeah.
all gonna be the experts. And we're gonna welcome them because we're that kind of a warm and fuzzy community, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all. We'll see you next
Thank
time
you. Thanks for coming.
see you next Saturday the 1st. Until then, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I feel like that scene in Toy Story when the Barbie doll goes, bye bye, bye bye, thank you, bye bye. I don't know why I associate with the Barbie doll. No, I do not. Bye bye, bye bye, thank you, bye bye. Okay, we got to end this. This is going to go crazy.
Yeah, you're
Take
getting a
care
little
now.
crazy now.
Alrighty, bye
Bye.
bye.